Hi everyone, it's great to see people joining from all over the world. I'm Lucy, I'm the VP of Global Partnerships, and I'm joined here by my colleague Tom, VP of Strategic Partnerships.
Hi there, yeah, VP of Strategic Partnerships. Just thought we'd give a little bit of background on why we decided to do this webinar. At Studee, we spend all of our days engaging with students and trying to convert them down the recruitment funnel. So whether that's from our website studee.com or our partners who a lot of whom pass through their leads to us and we convert them down on their behalf. So we just thought we would pass some of the learnings that we've had whilst engaging with students, a lot of whom are Generation Z, and we thought we'd be cool to share some of that information with you.
We're going to take off our cameras now just so we can move a bit more easily through the slides. Okay, I thought we'd include this quote here because I think it really sums up Generation Z. They really don't know a life without technology and the internet. So although the coronavirus will impact enrolments this year, students are still wanting to continue the conversation about studying abroad. And we believe one of the positives that is going to come of this difficult situation is that universities are now going to become more technologically advanced, so they can then start to engage with more international students as they start to find different ways to communicate with them online. Just a quick run through of the agenda. We'll be looking at who are Gen Z, how they differ from other generations, Gen Z as international students, so what kind of experience they're looking for, some tips on how to fast forward your online recruitment strategies, and then some best practices on how to hold their attention if there's time for some questions as well. We want to make this as interactive as possible. So we've got a couple of polls questions that are at the bottom of the screen. So if you have a look at the bottom, there's a tab that says polls. So please have a look there and answer them when you can, and then we can give you the results later on. If you do have any questions, please use the Ask a Question button as well. And if there's time, we'll get those over to you. And if not, we'll send them over by email. And if you'd like to share anything that your institution is doing to be more tech forward, so to reach out to more Generation Z students, please write them in the chat box for us to see. So over to Tom, who are Gen Z?
Perfect. Yeah, so first and foremost, let's have a look at who we're actually talking about. So Generation Z, we're talking about young people born between 1995 and 2010. So if you click through to the next slide, Luce, they're digital natives. So these are people that have grown up with smartphones, with the internet. They've never known a world without it. 27% of the US population fall into this bracket. If we think about most of undergraduate on-campus students, they're likely to be Generation Z. When we think about social movements, so we're talking climate change, LGBTQ, human rights movements, things like that, it's often Generation Z that have created them and then are also driving them forward. And then linked to that digital thing, if you look at the amount of time they spend on their smartphone, actually it's very similar to the amount of time that older generations are spending watching TV. So now we know who they are, how they differ from other generations. So if you go through again, Luce, so digital expectations is a really big one here. Being a generation that's always known digital, they've never lived without it, they expect everybody to keep up. And particularly companies and brands. And when we mention that during this webinar, we're obviously talking about university brands and as well. They expect us to be keeping up with the latest trends and the latest technology. I think we're going to try and keep this relatively coronavirus-free webinar. But if there is going to be a positive that comes out of this, it is that older generations are having to embrace new technologies. Watching my parents get to grips with Zoom meetings has been particularly entertaining. Sober curious, that they're a lot less likely to be interested in experimenting with alcohol and drugs, particularly when we look at comparing them to the millennial generation of which Lucy and I are a part. That means that the student experiences need to involve extracurricular activities that aren't based around drinking. You know, they're not interested in just going to the pub and drinking with their friends. They want to be stimulated in other ways as well. And then online research, when we talk about brands and university brands, the Generation Z, they're going to go online and they want their opinions reinforced with reviews from their peers and advertisements and things like that. They're always going to go online to back up those opinions. They're data savvy. Now, Generation Z are very happy to give their data out, in fact, but they want to know that that data is being used for the right reasons. Could you just go back one slide, Luce? So they want to know that that's being used for the right reasons, and they want that data to improve their brand experience. When we think of it from an admissions point of view, they're very happy to give their information as long as it's going to improve their student journey and make that flow a bit better. That links in nicely to customer service. They want the responses to their questions and their queries to be really super quick. They're used to everything being digital and instant responses. So really, we want to make sure that we've got good availability from a customer service point of view. If a prospective student's got a question or a current student's got a question, they want that answered and solved really, really quickly. And they're globally inspired, so they draw inspiration from all over the world. And I think a real a benefit that we've all had from Generation Z having that trait is visible on campuses with increasing number of students going abroad. So if we go forward, the Cambridge International Survey. So they ran a survey of more than 10,000 young people, and these are just some of the findings. That the main thing that came out of it was climate change is the biggest world issue across the globe. 26% said that. Obviously, if you break that down into regions, some saw it as more of a serious issue than others. So in Spain, for instance, 46% said that climate change is the biggest issue. Trusted sources was interesting, because rather than newspaper articles or websites, actually 25%, which was the largest amount, said that their trusted sources of information are charities and NGOs. And then an interesting juxtaposition here is that 96% believe it's really important to learn about global issues in school, and yet generally they said currently they weren't getting the chance to do that within their schools. So just one thing that we've found has really resonated with Generation Z students that we've introduced this year is our Trees for Degrees initiative. So what we're looking to do is we recognise that Generation Z really care deeply about the environment and about climate change, and that whilst we know international education has so many benefits and is really worthwhile, it is contributing towards CO2 increase. So by implementing this, we've seen some really positive feedback from our Generation Z students that we're working with. So it's just something that it's worth thinking about what initiatives you can do in your own institutions that again can help you to engage with those students. Over to you, Luce.
So let's have a look at Gen Z as international students. So here at Studee, at our advice centre, we're in contact with about 1,000 students every day, and our advisors have then noted down the types of experiences Gen Z are looking for at a university or a college, and we've listed them here. So I'll give you a few moments just to read those. I wanted to draw your attention to the students who want more volunteering opportunities. We hear this again and again. Many students are looking to give back, get actively involved in the areas that they feel passionate about. So I think including these opportunities, listed here into your messaging to students will definitely help you engage with them on a deeper level. And so you'll really know kind of what's important to them. So we've had a look at kind of the uni experience that they're after, but what types are they? What types of students are they generally speaking? So again, we've listed some ideas here of the traits. I think it's really important that they have one thing in common. They're very career focused. So including more emphasis on career prospects in your messaging, with opportunities on how they can then explore and continue their passions, mixing those together will really resonate with these students. So now we'd like to share with you some of our research. So through our Worldwide Advice Centre, we sent out a survey to 250 Generation Z international students to get an insight into their communication expectations and their preferences. So we hope the results help you understand how they want you to communicate with them. So we asked 3 questions, one with 2 parts. So question 1, would you expect to be contacted by a university during their holiday period? And the majority of students, 91%, said yes. So this really reflects the trait that they're always on, they're always connected, they're always communicating. And because they then expect you to be. And we know that is difficult. Question 2, would you look favourably on a university who contacted you during their holidays? And again, 88%, the majority of students said yes. So I think this really means that they value a really great support system, which is, again, back to one of the experiences that they're looking for, and a supportive one, and that they also value flexibility, which is, again, one of their main traits as Generation Z students. So I think ultimately kind of taking this on board will help you convert, more of your student applications and more of your inquiries to enrolments on campus. So question 3, part A, we then said, how would you prefer to be contacted by a university? So the majority of students said they wanted to be communicated with by email. However, I think that's because that's the easiest way. But an increasing amount of students are wanting to chat online. So on WhatsApp, on chatbots, on the phone. So I think being able to create an opportunity for that one-to-one instant conversation with a student can only be a positive thing with these Generation Z students. We then delved into it a bit deeper and asked, why are those your preferred methods of communication? And I think they really echo again the personal traits of these Gen Z students: always on, tech forward, flexible. So over to Tom.
Cool. So as I mentioned at Studee, we're following up with students and speaking to hundreds and hundreds of students every day. Therefore, we need to make sure that we're constantly testing our response times to make sure that we're converting as many as possible. So just thought it would be cool to share a bit of the information that we've gathered on the optimum rates. So within 10 hours is a good time frame for following up with students. After 10 hours, certainly after 12, the drop off falls significantly. Really does fall off a cliff. And it goes without saying that the optimum time is within minutes. Now, we realise that for most admissions teams and for most universities, having the resources to follow up with those prospective students in minutes is not really scalable, and it's difficult to do. But there are ways to do it, whether it's implementing a chatbot, looking at companies like ourselves who can help with that, or even looking at getting some of your international students to help out with some of the follow-up and things like that. There are ways to get those response times down. And now over to Lucy, who's going to go for the webinar poll results.
Yeah, so at the bottom of the screen, we asked you a couple of questions. So if you haven't done so already, have a scroll down and answer those for us, and we'll give you a couple of minutes to do so. So the results are coming in, changing moment by moment. Give you another couple of seconds. So the first question was, how long does your institution normally take to get back to international student inquiries? And the majority of people, so nearly 60% of people, said they are responding to students within 24 hours, which is great. And 10% said they take normally longer than 48 hours, which is really interesting. So yeah, well done for you guys within 24 hours. That's a brilliant job. Second question, do you offer an online instant chat service for students? And oh, that's great. 60% of people on this webinar said yes, they do, and 40% no. So that's brilliant that you're already employing that already. Thank you for sharing that with everyone. So, how to fast forward your online recruitment strategies. So because of this current pandemic, it's really put a pause on the more traditional methods of recruiting international students. So going to fairs, conferences, visiting agents. But now is the time to get up to speed with how to recruit and engage with more students online. And saying that, we know it's it's easy to say that, but it's not as easy as it sounds, especially in larger universities and colleges. It can take a long time to make change. And in this case, it would be adding technology and adopting different strategies. So we hope these slides will help you and support you with the conversations that you may be having, or you'll be having maybe in the future. And also, obviously have a chat with me and someone can help you further with that. So we had a look at the Connected Student Report, which was published by Salesforce. So we definitely recommend downloading that and having a read of it when you've got time. And here's just one result that we've pulled out of it regarding if student expectations for online support were being met by universities and colleges. And we can kind of see clearly here on the graph that they're not being met at the moment. So nearly half of students expect an online chat service, and only a quarter of the universities on this study are actually providing this. So I think, again, it reinforces the need for the quick personalised responses, so through something like a chat bot, which is really easy to access and use. So it's all about kind of improving that customer service, improving that student journey. So what else can we do? So one of the tips was humanise your university. So like what we saw before, 75% of students say a sense of belonging has really influenced their decision to enrol. So that kind of that welcoming, supportive message that should be kind of, put on there. Also reaching out to prospective students, offering them an opportunity to speak to a staff member. So, getting academics involved. So we know students really like speaking directly to academics when they can do to learn about who they're actually going to be taught by, which is a really good idea. And obviously webinars like this, we can get in contact and you can get in contact with more students at once. It's always a great tool. And add more technology. So like we saw in the results, 47% of the students want a self-service chat tool for support. And only kind of a quarter of the universities were making it available. And here's an example of ours on our site on Studee. So if you want to have a play around with that after, you're more than welcome to. 79% of students say they are more likely to reach out to an advisor when technology makes it more available. So it's definitely something that is going to start to then increase inquiries, increase those conversations that you're having with the students. Another tip would be partnerships with online solutions like ourselves, but there are other solutions out there, of course, as well. So the great thing about working with people online is that we work with a global pool of students rather than a local pool or even a national pool. So for diversifying and finding new markets and in different countries with only one contact, it's a really easy way of doing so. We're also able to say, where we're having the most positive conversations with students around the world and feeding you that data back. And again, it can scale. So like many companies like Studee, because of working with that global pool, we can definitely scale. And then, also there's no risk. So much like an agency model, like a traditional agency model, many online solutions, it's like ourselves, it's you pay on enrollment. So there's no marketing fees and no budget. So hopefully that would mean you could get going with us, or someone else quickly. So over to Tom with some best practices.
Cool, thanks, Lou. So we just thought we'd finish off with just some best practices that you can take with you and actually look to implement. Now, actually having seen your poll results, it looks like a lot of you are doing some really cool stuff anyway. So do feel free to share any initiatives that you're doing in the chat. Or in the ask a question section, because it would be really great to share some of those things that you're doing, especially with the people that were responding to students in minutes. That's great. First and foremost, when we're talking about Generation Z, the most important thing is your website. If you are new to this and you're going to take one thing away, I would say ensuring that your website works across all devices and operating systems is the most important thing. As we saw earlier, Generation Z spend as much time on their smartphones as older generations do in front of the TV. So if you've got a brilliant website, but it only works if you're on a computer, doesn't work if you're on a smartphone, doesn't work for Android, doesn't work for iOS, then it's just not going to perform how we want it to. So it's really important it works on all devices. Making sure your site is accessible through those devices. Now, when we often think of translating into languages here, but actually we've also done some really interesting work with our website on how, if you were, say, visually impaired, how would you how would you navigate your way through that? And I think there's a really interesting article that we have on our website that one of our technicians is that's a real passion of his, making sure that it's accessible for everyone. So it's worth checking that out. I don't know whether we can send that round to you afterwards, but it's really, really interesting. And then providing links to your site in the communications, making sure that you're talking about the other things as societies and organisations and things that students will also be interested in. Another thing, so communication, we've already spoken about the chatbot and making sure that that students can speak to somebody in real time. It looks like some of you are already doing that, which is really cool, and it is the way that communicating is going to go. And it leads us on to being always on. Generation Z, you know, they might wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, have a burning thought that they want answering. We need to make sure that we can answer that straight away. Replying in good time, and making sure that there's multiple ways for students to get in touch. So I think this for us at Studee is one of the really important ones. We saw in the stats earlier that Lucy showed us, students will tell you that they want to be communicated by email. That doesn't necessarily mean that actually emailing a student is the best way to convert them. If we think about that student's gone online, they might have inquired to 5, 10 universities, and all of those universities probably have a CRM system. They've all put that student in there, and they've all received a really cool email with a smiling face of all the students, and they've received that really quickly. Actually, those emails are going to, you know, the student's email address where all of their spam emails go to, and their Domino's Pizza and their Netflix and everything. So what we have actually found is that by calling the students where we have a phone number available, that builds a really strong rapport with that student very, very quickly. And then when we're sending emails to them, rather than them coming from an institution, they're coming from a person that they've built that relationship with. On top of that, obviously, we've spoken about instant messaging and things like that are really important as well. So if you can try and offer multi-channels in the way that you speak to the students, that's only going to improve your communication and those conversion rates. And then finally, showing that you care. You know, when we talk about green initiatives, we talk about all of the things that like climate change that Generation Z really care about. It's really important that we tell students about this. So many times I look at an international admissions page, and it just tells you about all of the hoops that the student's going to have to jump through in order to get their residence permit or their visa. Actually, this is the stuff we should be shouting about first. What are the volunteering opportunities going to be like on campus? What support do we offer for mental health, for physical health? And really celebrating the things that we're doing on campus and the diversity and inclusivity and stuff like that.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining, and I hope you're all staying healthy and safe. And yes, if you want to have a chat with Tom or I, our email address is there. And yeah, take care, and hopefully see you on the next webinar. Take care, guys. Bye. Bye.